Hi everyone and welcome back to Maths and Physics with Mr. Simons. Right, we will make maths and physics simple and we get you exam ready. Right, so today's lesson on equations, grade 10, we're looking at your third variation, right? And we're solving equations involving difference of two squares. In simple terms, it's very basic, but in this lesson I've somewhat done 4 variations. Another one which we use to catch you out in the exam, and the fifth variation you'll see once I start doing the exam questions, right? So that would be in the video of exam questions. Alright, so let's look at the first problem, pardon. Solve for x. So you should see I have 16x squared minus 64. Key thing is I have a negative sign. So the negative means difference. 2 squares, 16 is 4 times 4, 64 is 8 times 8. X squared is x times x, so therefore I know I'm dealing with difference of 2 squares. So when I factorize, my factors reads 4x times 4x. 4 times 4 is 16. X times x, x squared, 64. 8 times 8 gives me 64, but negative times positive gives me negative. From there, I can now say 4x. If I take negative 8 over, 4x equal 8. And yeah, if I take positive 8 over the equal sign, 4x equal negative 8. Always divide by a coefficient of x, so that becomes 8 divided by 4, or minus 8 divided by 4. 8 divided by 4 gives me 2, or x equal negative 2. Second problem here, and this is the basics we teach in class. You should actually know it from grade 9. Alright, so there, 4p squared minus 81 equals 0. So 4 is 2 times 2. P squared is p times p. 81 is 9 times 9. Minus sign in between, so difference of 2 squares. So 2p times 2p, 2 times 2, 4. P times p, p squared. 9 times 9, 81. Negative times positive, negative 81. So 2p, if I take negative 9 over, becomes positive 9. If I take positive 9 over, becomes negative 9. So 2p equal 9, or 2p equal negative 9. Always divide by the coefficient in front of the variable, in this case p. So 2p divided by 2 would become p. 9 divided by 2 simply becomes 9 over 2. 2p equal negative 9 divided by 2. And 2 goes in 9 4 times, leaving a remainder of 1. So that becomes 4.5, or p equal negative 4.5. Right, so that's basic difference of 2 squares. Right, now also still from grade 9, the third problem. Now again, solve for x, meaning we want x as the subject of the formula. They've given you x to the power 4 minus 16. So x to the power 4 is the same as saying x squared times x squared. 16 is 4 times 4. I almost hit 8 times 8 here. Common mistake that happens. Right, so x4, x squared times x squared. You see 2 plus 2 gives me 4. When the bases are the same. 16 is 4 times 4, which is 16, but the negative is positive times negative. Right, now you see x squared minus 4 is still 2 perfect squares. There's still a difference, not a addition, but difference. So we're not worried with sum of 2 squares, but difference of 2 squares. So x squared is x times x, and 4 is 2 times 2. So there becomes x times x, 2 times 2. All right? Negative becomes negative times positive. So you should see whenever we have two perfect squares with a difference, the terms are the same in both brackets, but one is negative and the other one is positive. So I hope you remember this from grade 9. Right, so there if I take negative 2 over x equal 2, or if I take positive 2 over x equal negative 2. Remember, solve for x, so I want x on its own. X squared plus 4 would become x squared equal negative 4. And to get rid of the square, I'm going to say square root of x squared gives me x, and square root of negative 4. So for the square root of negative 4, there's no solution or no roots. And this we're going to do more in detail in grade 11, where we do nature of roots. Right? This forms part of the complex number system, which you don't do at school level currently. Right? So note, the sum of two squares, has no factors and can't be factorized, right? Now let's go to the next problem. Solve for x. Now, very easy to confuse you in exam. We give you fractions and all of a sudden you'll switch off or you'll blank out, you'll start stressing, and it's really not that difficult. So we have 1 over 36 x squared minus 1 over 25. Right, now the value 1 you see on the top can only be 1 times 1. Alright, is 36 a perfect square? Yes. 6 times 6 would give me 36. Is 25 a perfect square? Yes. 5 times 5 is 25. So there, x squared is simply x times x. So you see x times x. 1 is simply 1 times 1, and 36 is simply 6 times 6. The negative there becomes negative times positive. That's the only way I can get a negative sign. And 1 over 25 becomes 1 times 1, which stays 1, and 25, 5 times 5. Right, if I take negative 1 over 5 over, if I say 1 over 6x minus 1 over 5 equals 0, if I take negative 1 over 5 over, it becomes positive 1 over 5. If I take positive 1 over 5 over, it becomes negative 1 over 5. Right, now there, remember solve for x, I want 1x. Right, so the top can stay, but I need to get rid of the bottom. So this is the same as saying x over 6. So to get rid of division, I'm going to use multiplication. So we say in equations, we multiply the denominator away, the value at the bottom. So therefore, that becomes 1x, but there 1 times 6 over 5, which then becomes 6 times 1 is 6, and 1 times 5 stay 5. So in there, 6 times negative 1 gives me negative 6, and 5 times 1 then gives me 5. So you can see that fraction was not as difficult as you thought. Work through it slowly and get used to the procedure. Practice makes perfect. Right, now number 5. Now this one is a little bit more complex. Very little in your textbook of them, but they do appear in exam. So I have x plus 3 all squared. So what this means is I have x plus 3 times x plus 3. Right, so it's a perfect square. They have minus 4. Remember, 4 is a perfect square, so it's 2 times 2. X plus 16 squared, so that's the same as saying x plus 16 times x plus 16. Right, so x plus 3 squared simply becomes x plus 3 times x plus 3. 4 simply becomes 2 times 2, and x plus 16 simply becomes x plus 16 times x plus 16. The negative can only be negative times positive. Right, I put them in close parentheses or square brackets, because in the inside I'm using open brackets, right? So from there, x plus 3, if I multiply in now, negative 2 times x would give me negative 2x. Negative 2 times 16 would give me negative 32. They have x plus 3 plus 2 times x gives me 2x. 2 times 16 gives me 32. Alright, so if I simplify here, x minus 2x gives me negative x. Minus 32 plus 3 would give me negative 29 and equal to 0 according to the zero factor law. X plus 2x would give me 3x. 32 plus 3 would give me 35 equals 0. Right, so negative x, right, if I take it over, simply would become positive x. So therefore, x equal negative 29. Here 3x, if I take 35 over, would become negative 35 on the other side, and always divide by whatever's in front of x. So 3x divided by 3 gives me x, and then negative 35 divided by 3 would then give me negative 35 over 3. Right, so that is solving for x via difference of two squares. I hope you understand. Let's go to the next lesson where we're going to look at quadratic equations. God bless. Bye.